Hey all. If you're not familiar with Zeppelin bootlegs, there's one called Live on Blueberry Hill from September 4th, 1970. An important bootleg, actually, not only because it's one of the better Zeppelin shows recorded. Everything, if you get any live Zeppelin from Los Angeles, it's going to be great because they always play great shows there. But this one was important because it was one of the first rock bootlegs to come out on vinyl way back. In fact, it was out on the streets within just a week or two of the show itself. An audience recording, but a really good one. And in fact, if you go on YouTube and look up Led Zeppelin Live on Blueberry Hill or 9470, whatever, you'll hear different. There's a few different sources for the recordings, but in more recent years, people have sort of run them through filters and really cleaned them up, and they sound great. Not quite, up to Jimmy's specs, I'm sure, for a release, but man, what a fun show. And they do Out on the Tiles on there. I think the only time they ever played that one. That's kind of cool. You get a really good medley during Whole Lotta Love. You get another one during Communication Breakdown. I'm pretty sure they did Good Times, Bad Times on that show. Again, one of the only times they played that. But they also did a cover of Blueberry Hill. So let's go through the cover of Blueberry Hill, the Zeppelinized version of it. So you hear Jimmy give Robert an E to start on. I found my, and that goes A. Okay, so it starts on A. I found my thrill, A. Now, on the riff, the little lick that he does different versions of it through the song, and I think he's just, it's a jam, a spontaneous jam. They did another version of it a couple nights earlier in Oakland, I think on the 2nd, but this is the better one, I think. And I think they also did it in 72 at Long Beach, or San Bernardino, one of those shows in June of 72. But this is the one that everybody knows. So you go A, and sometimes he'll do, other times he'll do, sometimes he'll do, take your pick. But this, the one I'll show you first is, okay, A5, and then slide up A to 4, D2, D4, and it is kind of important to hammer that on. Back to A at 4, 2, 4, 4, 2 on D, and on A4. Do the same thing on E now. Right, so it goes at the B on that one. B. Right. Doing the same thing you did on the A one, except now you got to do 2 frets up. Get back down to B. Right? So after that B, it is tough to get back down there. So that's E. 2, 4 on E, A, then back down, 4, 2. The moon stood still. Now here's a different variation on the lick. Right? Starts off the same as the other lick. Slide up 4 on A to 2 on D. 3, 4 on A. Just leave that D at 2. The wind in the willows, love, sweet melody. That part, right? The wind in the. Then it's E. B. Love, sweet melody. And then we're in all of those vowels. And if you listen to Plant, you know how English accents, they'll say vowers that we made. It sounds like vowers. And so it's just E to E flat. To an A flat minor. Back to that E flat. Though we're apart. Right, so that little, I don't know, middle A. A wind in the wind. That's E and B. When he gets back to that second time, he's not really. He just kind of goes. Though we're apart. That's 0, 1, 2 on the A string. Though we're apart. And you know, not gonna do the solo, but the main, you know, those are the main guitar parts, and it's a nice little, very loose jam on that one. And I can't recommend that Live on Blueberry Hill bootleg enough. It's fantastic, and that was sort of the front end of Zeppelin's prime, in my opinion. That lasted about the next 2.5, 3 years after that. But Jimmy was just absolutely staggeringly fantastic during that time, 70, 71 into 72. And in fact, all of them. It was before Plant's voice really kind of started to flag on him. But he was still hitting all of the high notes that you'd expect. I mean, they open with Immigrant Song, and he does the high, he does it really high like he did on the album. So really good stuff. But you get a nice little set list. They do Bron Yar in there. Jimmy does the instrumental from Graffiti. Did it back in 1970 when it would have been recorded for the third album, I think. But a fantastic, outstanding set list, and one of the great rock performances by any band on that bootleg. But bunch of different sources and different versions of it. But go through YouTube and find the one that you like best. But a great show and a cool cover of Blueberry Hill. Good luck.